Welcome to A Magical Life, Health, Wealth and Weight Loss. I'm your host, Magic Barclay, lead practitioner at Holistic Natural Health Australia and #1 best-selling author. In this podcast, I aim to give you practical tips on how to accelerate and sustain your health, increase your financial, spiritual and emotional wealth, and to look at something that haunts many of us needlessly, weight loss. Now, sit back and enjoy, because it is time for you to create and truly discover a magical life. Welcome back to A Magical Life. I'm your host, Magic Barclay, and today my guest is Kerry Tepedino. She is the CEO and founder of the One Thought Away project, a global company and movement that has influenced 250,000 plus people to transform their lives. Kerry struggled with low self-esteem, a lack of self-worth and poor body image, which spiraled into a personal battle with an eating disorder. This journey led her to a poignant and defining moment in her life where she got to make a decision to continue down a path of unhappiness and poor health, or find the freedom and happiness that her soul always craved. Through deep study of personal development, leadership, holistic health, nutrition, Ayurveda, yoga, meditation, and breath work, Kerry created her powerful sacred self system, which helped her go from rock bottom to rock solid. She's now living a life that she never thought could be possible for her. Her unique process includes mindset mastery, emotional intelligence, self-love, and believing that with proper mentorship, community, and strategies, anything is possible. She is a walking example that you are one thought away from having the life you want, or not, and is excited to support you to lock in the same understanding for your own life. Wow, welcome, Kerry.
Thank you, Magic. I am so grateful to be here. I know that you don't put people in front of your people in your tribe lightly. And so I feel very honored and humbled that we get to have this conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm honored and humbled to have you here. I've spoken to the listeners, at length in the past of my own struggles of self-worth and eating disorders, going from one side of the spectrum to the other, and, really having to choose myself. And even just off air, we were just discussing that I'm taking some time for me. I think many people have to hit that rock bottom very sadly to realize that that is so important.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, sometimes what happens is it's just so easy to stay in your comfort zone, not understanding that comfort zone, that way of being, that baseline that you're used to is actually holding you back, because we're so emotionally connected and tied to whatever's going on in our lives that it's really hard to see the blind spots, right? And so it's very easy to just continue to do what we're doing, think yesterday thoughts, have yesterday emotions, take yesterday actions, wanting to get different results, but not understanding that we're actually stalling out there because we're not in this next level conversation, having different awarenesses, if all of that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense to me. And look, I'm really excited with what you can share with the listeners today. So I ask all of my guests the same 3 questions, and everyone's answers just blow my mind how amazingly different they are. So here's your first one. What can your expertise do to accelerate health, be it physical, emotional, or spiritual?
Well, so we are really, really focused on your thought processes and what are the thoughts that you're thinking, because the thoughts that you're thinking are absolutely 100% of the time impacting the emotions that you're having, how you're feeling. Those are impacting the actions that you decide to take. Your repetitive actions day in and day out become your habits. Your habits are impacting your health every single time, right? So, for example, I'll just break it down quickly. But if you have a conversation going on inside of your head about not being good enough or can't do hard things, or let me use a personal example. It's too hard to break my eating addiction. It's too hard to stop the emotional eating. Well, if I have that conversation going on with myself inside, then that's my mental health. It's impacting my emotional health because then I start to feel agitated, frustrated, probably desperate, disappointed. And so that's impacting my emotional health. Then that goes round and round and round. Those things are going to impact the actions that I take. So if I'm feeling depressed or anxious or stressed, then I'm probably reaching for more sugar. I'm probably reaching for whatever's not serving me, maybe alcohol. I'm probably not exercising. Then all of a sudden my physical health starts to go down the tank. All of those things are then definitely impacting my spiritual health, my connection to myself on a deeper level, my connection to a higher power, what I call a higher power for me. And so it's a domino effect, right? We're holistic beings, the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So it's all impacting us on a health level.
Definitely. And look, we discuss wealth here too. Many people think wealth is just financial, but it's
Mm.
really more personal and emotional wealth that really, knowing your self worth and valuing yourself. What are your top three tips to creating wealth?
Well, I love that question because we also speak into wealth on different levels. When people first hear about wealth, they usually think that it's about finances. And some of it is, if you think you can have it or if you think you can't have wealth, you're going to need to prove yourself right because whatever we think in our brains, we cognitively, even on a subconscious level, unconscious level, we got to prove ourselves right. So the way that you're thinking is definitely impacting your actual bank account. But then there's this whole other aspect of wealth. Like I know some very, very financially wealthy people, but they're not healthy. And they would give all of that financial abundance to be able to straighten out their physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health. And so they don't feel abundant, right? They feel sick. They feel lethargic. They feel run down or whatever it is that they're feeling. And then I also know people who, like many of us, we know people who don't have a ton of financial wealth, but they're so wealthy in regards to their mindset and how they think and their level of joy, their joy meter and their joy factors. And so the wealth conversation is really an internal one. It's all relative. And it's really about your perspective on the world and what you consider to be wealthy for you might be different than wealthy for somebody else.
Okay, our final standard question is around weight. Many people battle with their weight. I know I have. I know you've had an eating disorder. What can you offer the listeners who might be on this journey and, maybe share part of your story so that
Mm.
people don't feel that they're alone because that's often how we feel when we're on the journey.
Right. So for me, I was actually 50 pounds heavier than I am today when I was at my highest weight, disregarding my pregnancy weights. And for me, what I realized was once I finally let go of the self judgment, once I finally let go of the loving myself conditionally, like I will love myself when I lose 10 pounds, or I'll love myself when I lose 30 pounds. But I finally just got exhausted by the whole struggle around my weight and my tying it to my worthiness and tying it to my value and my lovability factor. And I got to a point where I was so exhausted by the whole struggle that I finally just said, enough is enough. Like I would rather be overweight and happy than skinny and unhappy. And that was definitely a defining moment for me in regards to my self-esteem journey and my self-esteem struggles. And then what happened with all of that is I started to make decisions around what am I going to eat? How am I going to move my body? What does my sleep hygiene look like? I started to make decisions because I loved myself enough to make healthy decisions versus making decisions because I wanted to be skinny or because I was comparing myself to somebody else in their skinny jeans. Oh, do I look like as good as that? Or, constantly in a comparison game. And what happened over time is the 50 pounds, US pounds, came off naturally. I mean, it came off because I was changing my internal conversation. I was changing the way that I treated myself. I loved myself no matter what. I realized that the 50 pounds was actually a symptom to something deeper going on. And that something deeper going on was really the personal development work that I didn't have at the time. And so once I cleaned up my relationship to myself, once I started to love myself no matter what, then my body finally got a chance to actually heal, but not heal in a way that it was like a short-term hit of relief where, many of us who have had a weight struggle, you might know this, it's like lose 10 pounds, then put 15 back on. And so it wasn't like that at all. Like finally my body stabilized and, I've lost this weight. I broke the eating addiction. I've had the weight off for a couple of decades now. And I eat what I want. And I don't worry. I don't have those conversations anymore. And I don't over exercise and I don't restrict and I don't deprive myself. I allow myself to live my life, but living my life is coming from a different intention. And my intention is loving myself, being the happiest version and the healthiest version of me possible, and making decisions from that place. And that's a very, very different place to live from.
It certainly is. Now, we've covered a fair bit already. I really want to open the floor to you now, Kerry. Tell us about One Thought Away. Tell us about the work that you do and maybe how the listeners can benefit from your experience.
Yeah. So one thought away. So I absolutely love this topic. And our book has come out. It came out last year. It's called One Thought Away. We were number 1 bestseller and number 1 new release in many categories. It was personal development and coach. And this is on Amazon, personal development and coaching and Christian mentoring and business mentoring and coaching. And the concept behind One Thought Away is you are one thought away from having your dream life today or not. And you could easily alter that slightly and say you're one thought away from having the health that you want today or not, the wealth that you want today or not, the life that you want today or not, the adventure, the play, the relationships. It could go on and on and on. And the concept behind this, because it's a simple concept, it's not always easy, but it is simple. And that concept is really about when you're at that fork in the road where you have a decision to make. And you either make the same decision that you made yesterday or you choose a different thought. So let me give an example. So in regards to weight, since this is what we have been talking about today a bit, in regards to weight. So you are one thought away from eating the whole chocolate cake today in this moment or not. And at that moment where you're at that fork in the road where you make this different decision or the same decision, I call that the slippery moment of hesitation. And it's a slippery moment of hesitation because that moment happens so quickly where we slide back into the old pattern, the old thought, the old feelings, and then we wonder why nothing changes. And so what we get to do in that moment is we get to create a pattern interrupt. The pattern interrupt is choosing a different thought. For example, okay, so I might not be where I want to be yet with my weight. And gosh, I would love to have that whole chocolate cake to myself. But I am also really grateful that I'm making different decisions for myself now. I'm grateful that I'm attracting different strategies. I'm grateful that I'm attracting the support that can really help create the life that I really want to have in my body with myself. I'm ready to do something different. I'm ready to have a different thought, take a different action. I'm excited and grateful to see what results will happen when I take these different thoughts and actions. And so what we're doing in that moment is we're creating a pattern interrupt. We're interrupting the old pattern of just going and eating the whole cake, probably mindlessly and not even tasting a bite of it. We're interrupting that old pattern and we're creating something different in that moment. That something different is going to lay down different neural connections in the brain. So think about different pathways in the brain. There is going to, that different pattern or that different step is going to lay down different connections in the brain, where then we start to reprogram the brain to a new way of being. And that new way of being is, I'm so grateful that I'm figuring this out. I'm so grateful for my body to where it got me to where it is today. And I'm now ready to get a different result with my body. And so we start to shift the conversation. We start to shift the focus. We start to reprogram how the mind and the brain works to get a different result. Does this make sense?
Makes perfect sense, and I'm so glad that you said it. Now, people might find that they do take 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, and often they'll beat themselves up about it. I know from my own experience, I did really well, and then when I fell off the wagon, I beat myself up about it, and talking to a lot of other people, they've done the same. So when you have that slip up, what's a good way to address that?
Well, the first thing is to remember that you're human. We all have quote unquote slip ups, but what we want to do, my encouragement to all of our friends here, is to not unpack your bags and live there. Right. So realizing that you're human, having a human experience, you're not meant to be perfect. If we were all cookie cutter perfect and lived only perfectly, it would be a very boring world. With that being said, let's not use that as an excuse to fall back into the old pattern. Let's stay focused on that bigger vision that we have for our health, that bigger vision that we have for our wealth, that bigger vision that we have for our lives. And let's course correct in that moment. Let's forgive ourselves for in that moment, if there's anything to forgive, course correct, and start anew, start immediately with a different conversation. And that really can go back to like what I was just sharing. Okay, so that didn't go exactly as I planned. And I'm grateful that I have now brought myself back on track. I'm grateful that I'm now recommitted to my bigger vision and my bigger dream of my life.
I absolutely love that. My goodness. Kerry, I know the listeners will be thinking, how do I get in touch with Kerry? I need to speak to her. But also, we love freebies here. So, first of all, what can you offer the
Good.
listeners? Where can they find it? And how
Yeah.
can people be learning how to be one thought away?
So good. Well, definitely, I would love to welcome our friends to the One Thought Away book, which is on Amazon. There's a Kindle or a hard copy, and we've had people all across the globe get the hard copy, and it arrives quite quickly up until this point. So there are different options there. And then the other thing is, I would love to offer you guys the Dream Life guide, like the ultimate guide to creating your dream life. And all you'll need to do is just click the link that Magic will give you. And please go click that link. And if you're somebody, we work with women in our programs that, men or women, if you are somebody who is really ready to transform your results, you're really ready to get out of your rut, you know that you're made for more, you know that your health, you can take your health to the next level. You just need some strategy and support, or you could take your wealth or your relationships or the adventure and fun part of your life to the next level. You just need some guidance. You need some tips. You need something that is proven to work already. Then please, please go gift yourself the ultimate guide to having your dream life. I'd be honored to be able to stand in the fire for all of our friends here to have the lives that they really want to have.
Very generous. Thank you. Kerry, thank you so much for joining us. I've really loved our chat.
Thank you for having me. I love that I am this number of the episode. This number of your podcast. Congratulations on all your episodes and all your success. You're such a rock star. And please let me know how I can help in any way going forward.
Thank you. And listeners, this podcast is only a success because of you. Thank you for all of your time, giving us your ears so that we can pump some information out there to you and try and help you with your lives. Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, and reviewing. Keep on doing that. You are the true rock stars. And for now, go forth and create your magical life. Thanks for listening today. Please subscribe to hear future episodes, leave a review, and share this podcast. Drop us a line at A Magical Life Podcast on Facebook and let me know what you would like to know more about. You can find us on Instagram at Holistic Natural Health, that's holistic with a W, or at www.holisticnaturalhealth.com.au. That's where you'll access all sorts of articles, freebies, and more.